So Brian Stelter is a former blogger and New York Times media writer, journalist. And now he is the host of Reliable Sources and all-around media go-to guy for CNN. And he poses a bunch of really puzzling questions about President Trump. Puzzling because he never bothered to ask these questions about any other politician ever. Some of that is Trump's fault, and some of that's just lack of caring, from my point of view.
All I have today are questions. Maybe you do too. Will President Trump deny reality on a daily basis? Will he make up his own false facts and fake stats? If so, what will the consequences be? Will reporters give up trying to fact check? Is that the goal? To wear us down, to wear us out? What will you at home trust? Who will you trust? Is this all accidental? Or is the Trump administration creating confusion and sowing division on purpose? Is the idea to force voters to choose between the reporters and the commander-in-chief? To cast doubt on the media so much that you just give up and trust nothing? Is Trump gaslighting us? Trying to manipulate? Make you doubt your own eyes? Does he know what gaslighting means? Here's another question. Will Trump's staffers lie for him?
Okay, let's back up a moment. The thought that a politician's staff would lie for him, like this is some sort of new concept. Like politicians don't lie constantly. Like their staff doesn't lie constantly. Like everything from yellow cake uranium to lies about moderate rebels and not supporting Al Qaeda, like President Obama did. Like I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Like guns for hostages and Reagan. Like what the hell? Like, look, I don't defend Trump, but man, I really wish this skepticism was constant and happened all the time with every president and every politician at every level of government. But it doesn't. It happens with Trump because he is distasteful. If the suit fits right, and you're playing the game, then you won't be skeptical. You won't call him on the lie until you're pushed into a corner. You know, like that time where John Roberts and company pushed Scott McKellen into a corner where he was nearly crying in the press room at the White House. But it's not like that was the first about Valerie Plame. It's not like that's the first point that it was clear that a member of the White House or the staff of the White House were lying, bold-faced lying to the American public. In fact, if you ever watch a debate, after a debate, the politicians literally enter what's known as the spin room. And what a spin room should be called is the lie room, because what you do is you take the reality of whatever happened, and you shape it to fit your narrative. It's what politicians do. It's what they always have done. Obviously, Trump is taking this to an extreme, but I find this just puzzling that he is the only one that we're taking this seriously. Hopefully this is a new trend and we're going to finally start taking politicians to task for lying, but I kind of doubt it.
Does Sean Spicer remember saying this 3 weeks ago?
The one thing that whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, you have your integrity. I may tell a reporter I can't comment on something, or I'm not able to discuss that, but I've never lied, and I don't intend. I would argue that anybody who's an aspiring communicator adhere to that, because if you lose the respect and trust of the press corps, you got nothing.
You've got nothing, he says. So does Spicer have anything? Has he squandered all of the goodwill he's built up over the years? Or is it a chance to repair this relationship? Can he win back his credibility? This is all about credibility, after all.
No, it's not so much about credibility. It's about playing nice with the press corps. It's the credibility of the American people. I don't think most Americans take politicians at their word. I think most of us kind of expect to be lied to them. And I think many of us want to be lied to. We want to hear what we want to hear. We don't want to hear the truth. I wish that more of them would tell the truth, but most don't. I think what we're hearing here is a measured temper tantrum from one of the leading media reporters in politics right now.
Take a look at what else Sean Spicer said. Again, this was a David Axelrod out at a university 3 weeks ago. Axelrod asked a very important question.
Would you quit if you were asked to?
It's not a question of I can't. I don't think any communicator worth their salt can go out and tell a lie. You can't do it. I think it's one thing for a surrogate to say something, and again, I'm not by any means advocating that. I think you have to. You can spin the way you want, but I think to go out and tell an lie is something that's just not acceptable.
You can spin the way you want. See, and that's exactly that's a giant out clause in the not lying concept, because you can make data, you can make arguments in your own image, and I find it distasteful, but obvious. That's what politicians do. That's what they always do. I think there's very little to see here, at least in this argument. There's way more egregious things that we could be mad at Donald Trump about.
Acceptable.
Axelrod said, would you quit? Would you quit if you were asked to lie? Will journalists trust a word he says now? Will Spicer have to resign? Now, these are all just questions, but really this is about a lot more than the press secretary. This is about the truth.
I mean, look, I think he did a non-call for resignation there. I mean, that's the way that felt. Spicer never said he quit, but Skelter kind of intimated that he did, which sounds like a falsehood, because if you heard what I just heard, he didn't mention anything about quitting, because he said that he was willing to spin for the people who he speaks for as much as he deemed necessary. Liars on top of liars on top of liars.
Will Trump use federal agencies to twist the truth? Will we be able to trust the data, the statistics, the numbers this government provides? Will agencies like the Secret Service come under pressure?
Let's drop back a moment. We've never been able to trust the data and statistics that the government offers. There's always been a question of every piece of statistical evidence that the government offers. Take a look at a website called Shadow Stats, which questions the unemployment number and many other government statistics. Most of them have been spun and reshaped to fit the image of those who are in power, because, as has been apocryphally said many times, it's the victors that write history. In this case, it takes appointing the right person with the right calculator to spin stats to shape the narrative you want out there.
For contradicting Trump. Last night, CNN's Jim Sciutto said, forget about crowd sizes. Will the administration tell the truth about matters of life and death?
What if Donald Trump...
Okay. You want to be the first to lie about that. That's kind of a commonplace thing for politicians. It doesn't make it okay, but let's just put this in perspective. Jessica Lynch comes to mind immediately. Pat Tillman has been, that whole account was put into massive amounts of question. it's bizarre that we're eager to jump on Trump and question everything about Trump, but when it comes to someone else, someone who's willing to play ball and is nicer and doesn't seem like such a jagoff like this guy does, that we'll let these things pass until it's obvious that they're BS, and then we'll still let them pass. Not to mention people like John Kiriakou and just like the amount of lying and twisting of the truth. And remember, the Obama administration was supposed to be the most transparent in history, and it was clearly the opposite.
Trump orders troops into battle and they die, right? Do we trust the White House to speak about that honestly if they're going to lie about this, right? What if the intelligence agencies say what if a terror attack happens and they had a warning, or he gets a warning and doesn't share it with the American public? Can you then?
Okay, most warnings aren't shared with the American public. That's just generally, it's a rare warning that is actually shared with the public. You wouldn't share every warning with the public. That's just a fact. Also, there are vast amounts of lies that are told constantly about terrorism and terrorist attacks and everything in our government. It's bizarre, and I find this whole soliloquy really jarringly stupid.
And trust him to share that information that the public deserves to know accurately?
What happens the next time the economy slips into recession? Will Donald Trump and his administration tell the truth? Will they tell the truth when it really hurts? Let me ask you this. What happens if his approval ratings sink even further? Will Trump believe the polls? Or will he say, as he did this week, that they're rigged? Will his pollsters conjure up numbers he likes more instead?
Every pollster does that all the time. Every pollster is looking for the silver lining in a haystack of evidence of things. There's a reason why the entire world believed that Hillary Clinton was going to win the election, and all those polls were wrong. Polls are not an accurate depiction of the world. They really are not. They're a sampling of a certain speck of the population. The population generally with landlines, a shrinking part of the population. If you really think about it.
What will you believe? Will you and your neighbors just shrug, or will you demand more honesty from your government? And what about the media? Is Trump just trying to twist us into knots? Is it working? Or is there an end goal? Do Trump's allies want to silence skeptics in the media, destroy the press, or maybe support an alternative press that presents an alternative reality? It's more favorable.
Every president does that. The Obama administration was virtually at war with Fox News, and the Bush administration leaned heavily on Fox News. The idea that's new, a new concept for the Trump years is truly laughable. The administrations, the many administrations have chosen their favorite columnists, their favorite members of the media to lean on and speak to, and it's. I find as honest and open and accurate as the worry is about any commander-in-chief in these terms, the fact that you're only now worried about it under Trump instead of under Obama or W or Clinton or HW or Reagan or Carter or on and back to George Washington himself and his apocryphal cherry tree. I find it disturbing, and it kind of reaffirms some of Trump's argument against you, that you are gang tackling him like this when you wouldn't do that to a guy like Barack Obama, because Barack Obama is more likable. Not saying I'm voting for the guy, but it doesn't help your case.
Conservative media outlets play along with Trump's lies.
Of course they will. That's what they do. It's not like what do you expect conservative media outlets to do? Like play along with Chuck Schumer or Kristen Gillibrand or Bernie Sanders? I mean, what do you want from them? Of course, they're conservative news outlets. It's literally in their name, conservative news outlets. What do you want from them?
Will they claim he's telling the truth? Or will conservative outlets respect their readers enough to call BS on BS? And finally, what can all newsrooms do to help you know what's really going on? These are uncomfortable questions, especially these last ones. But it's time to ask them. Do citizens in dictatorships recognize what's happening right here, right now?
Okay, do citizens in dictatorships? This isn't a dictatorship. It's not close to a dictatorship. If this were a dictatorship and you went on TV and said that, you would be thrown against a wall and shot. You were thrown into some dungeon or something. The CNN wouldn't exist in a dictatorship. This is not a dictatorship. This is a ridiculous thought. Could we get there? Sure. Are we there? No.
Are they looking at the first 2 days of the Trump administration and saying, oh, that's what my leader does? What should we learn from them today?
Skelter sounds like a jagoff here. It's I find this as alarming as many of the moves that the Trump administration have made and have hinted at are. They call us a dictatorship is, you're in OJ land, man.